What's going on, everybody? Avatar here, and today we're taking a look at one of the best and most fun Arc Warlock builds that I've used this episode for in-game activities. With the addition to the new aspect, Ionic Sentry, and some buffed exotics, we have to create something amazing for Arc Warlock to dominate in those activities. So, if you're looking for a Warlock build that has great synergy and ability regeneration, you're going to want to check this out. Let's break down the build. First, let's talk about that aspect, Ionic Sentry. This build will be focused around it, which states that defeating targets with kinetic or arc weapons and arc abilities, it'll charge up an arc turret that periodically change lightning between nearby targets, granting a stack of bolt charge with each hit, and it can blind those targets. So when you deploy your arc sentry, on its initial impact, it's going to blind those targets, which does include unstoppable champions. This is essentially functions like Gunpowder Gamble on Hunter. It's used like a grenade, but it doesn't override your grenade slot. And the second aspect that synergizes beautifully with this is going to be Electrostatic Mine. This states, by defeating targets with arc abilities and defeating jolted or blinded targets is going to create an Ionic Trace. This is going to do a few things. First, collecting that Ionic Trace is going to make you amplified, which will give you a 15% reduction in damage, along with increased movement speed and weapon handling. Ionic Traces also track you, and they grant you 12.5% energy to your abilities and 15% to your class ability. Along with the recent buff, they will give you 7% towards your super, meaning this build is not only going to give you your abilities back insanely fast, but your super as well. So the question is, how are we going to make this build in terms of weapons, fragments, the abilities, exotic armor pieces? So thanks for asking. First, let's talk about the weapons. If you're going to be playing higher level content with champions, there's a few choices that you can make for that top slot. You're going to want to build into stunning champions. So always, I love using Tinash's Mastery with Chill Clip due to its ability to stun every champion this episode. Also, a Riptide with Chill Clip could work because it can stun Unstoppable as well as Overload. Or if you have a Sniper with Chill Clip, that's also a great way because you can stun every champion as well. Any of them are going to be great choices. Personally, I do enjoy using Tinash's the most. It's got great ammo economy, does great damage, and with the ability to stun every champion, it's just an easy pick for me. Next, our energy weapon, we're tossing on Pyroelectric Propellant. We're going to be building into Arc, and what this build is all about is just that. So having an auto rifle or any other gun that has volt shot or jolting feedback is going to do fantastic. Yes, Pyroelectric is from the dungeon. If you don't have it, toss on something else from any of the most recent seasons that's going to have jolting feedback or volt shot. All of those will do a fantastic job. And if you need people to grind the Vespers Host dungeon with to get this gun or any of the other weapons, hop in our Discord. Finally, for our heavy, we're going to be using Thunderlord. This arc exotic generates crazy lightning strikes and you deal damage over time, granting bolt charge with each strike. And it does stun overload champions, which is just a nice little extra bonus on top of it. With its exotic perk though, those lightning rounds, it's going to ramp up the rate of fire and accuracy the longer the trigger's held. Plus, the Cadillac Catalyst is going to act as a better version of rewind rounds. So it's going to partially refill your magazine with those lightning strikes, basically lets you shoot almost infinitely. So we've nailed down the aspects. We've talked about the weapons. Obviously, super, we're going with Chaos Reach. And why, you might ask? Because Geomag's got a buff. So Geomag Stabilizers basically gives you the exotic perk Close Enough, which damaging targets with Chaos Reach will extend its duration. Collecting Ionic Traces are going to grant you energy for Chaos Reach. And when you sprint near max bolt charge, you'll grant stacks over time. So like we said earlier, by collecting Ionic Traces, it's going to grant you 7% super energy when you're using your Chaos Reach. And when you have 6 stacks of Bolt Charge or higher, and you sprinted for 3.8 seconds, maintaining sprint will grant you stacks of Bolt Charge every 2 seconds. Plus, Chaos Reach does refund 10% super energy on hits, so just another way to keep that super up as much as possible. What about fragments? First up is going to be Spark of Beacons. So when we're amplified, our arc special or heavy weapon will create a blinding explosion on final blows. Then of course, we're going to be using Spark of Resistance to gain further damage reduction when we're surrounded, Spark of Ions to create an Ionic Trace when defeating a jolted target or a target with bolt charge, and our final fragment is going to be Spark of Discharge. arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace, and by picking up an ionic trace, it's going to grant us a stack of bolt charge. So you can see the synergy here. Jumping into the artifact though, there's a few things that are going to make this build shine. With piercing sidearm to go against unstoppable, overload, and those anti-barrier champions, it's a must-have to stun all those champions. Then we're going to use overclock and loaded. With this perk, when you're amplified or have bolt charge, arc weapons have increased handling and reload. Then there's hold the line. So by being surrounded, this perk will give us increased reload and heals us when we defeat targets with our machine gun. Dielectric is going to grant us bolt charge stacks when we defeat arc debuff targets. And in turn, if we use the Tome of Want to boost it, this perk is going to create an orb of power and give small health portion by rapidly defeating those arc debuff targets. Dreadful Finisher's a fantastic must-have because it does free up a special ammo finisher. So by using Dreadful Finisher, it's going to give you special ammo for not only us, but for our teammates as well when we use a finisher on powerful combatants. Subjugators, Tormentors, or Champions are going to give more ammo. Next up is Flashover. When getting max bolt charge, we also become amplified, and those bolt charge lightning strikes do deal more damage. In the final column, there's a couple standout perks that we're using for this. First up is Heavy Ordnance Regeneration. So dealing sustained damage with our machine gun is going to give us some damage reduction, but it's also going to increase our grenade and melee regeneration for a short time. And lastly, Defibrillating Blast. This perk is phenomenal. By stunning a champion, it's going to give us max stacks to our bolt charge, trigger an arc bolt that heals us, and it's going to jolt combatants that it damages. But obviously, you can play around with this build. You could even throw in a void weapon instead and build into the void artifact perks, which are phenomenal right now. If you don't have pyroelectric, or you don't want to use anything with jolting feedback or volt shot, use something with the stabilizing rounds and repulsor brace or any of the other new void perks in that secondary weapon energy slot. Basically change it up to fit your playstyle. Lastly, for our armor mods, helmet wise, we're going to be going with an arc siphon to create those orbs of power on arc final blows, or arc rapid final blows, heavy ammo finder and heavy ammo scout to create those heavy bricks. But on top of that, we're also using a heavy ammo finder enhancement on our auto rifle just to build into creating heavy bricks as much as possible. For the gauntlets, we're going to go with fastball always, because who doesn't like throwing grenades further and faster. Bolstering detonation to give us class ability energy when causing damage with our grenade. Firepower to create orbs of power on those grenade final blows. Chest piece wise, it's easy to do. Always go into damage reduction mods to match whatever activity you're playing. And on this one, let's toss in an arc weapon reserve mod for our Thunderlord ammo. Leg wise, we're tossing on recuperation to immediately start health regen off an orb pickup. We're going to toss on an arc surge mod to do more damage with our our pyroelectric and our Thunderlord. Then arc scavenger to pick up more ammo for those heavy bricks. Lastly though, our class item, we're going with proximity ward to give us an overshield when performing a finisher, bomber to reduce our grenade cooldown when we use our class ability, and then reaper to create those orbs of power with weapon final blows after we use our class ability. So there you have it, folks. This is a super fun arc build with insane regeneration, the ability to stun every single champion. It has great survivability, but at the end of the day, it's an all-around fun build to play, especially with the new aspect and bolt charge. It's a great time. So drop a comment below. How would you improve this build to fit your playstyle? Or are you going to give it a go? Don't forget, if you do need a team to grind with, or you're just looking for a new community, feel free to check out our Discord link below, as well as stop by our Twitch stream. We're always playing with chat. Also, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, leave a like on the video, as we're always creating new content and making sure that we can put out some fun build videos for everyone else to check out. But until then, I will see you in the next one.